live on the 999 show. We're going to be doing, I'm going to try to recreate wildfire skies. And so in 2020, there were wildfires very near where I live, so close that you could smell the manufactured homes and those things that burn down. You could smell those toxic fumes everywhere, and so luckily I had some N95 masks around, and I didn't, and so I could go outside. So when this firestorm had hit, now it did burn a couple whole towns down. And so this is what I'm going to try and match these colors here. But I wanted to show you one of the paintings that I did do during that time. This is the only one that I have left that I haven't sold. There's one more that I haven't sold, but this is a early one. And so you can kind of see with this that the colors of the sky is pretty similar. And so what we are, anyway, so this is that color that you get. And when you look down at like the Palisade fires and they show those on TV, you can see this effect that happens in the sky. When you are really close to a wildfire, it is just like this. But you know, it's funny, when I was wildland firefighter, hi, welcome. And so now this is a painting I do not have anymore, and I took the liberty today of printing off some photographs of this. Now, so I can see by looking at here that I used, this here is reflex yellow, and this is reflex orange mixed with red. And so I used a lot of that in here. And so the fellow that bought this painting showed it to another art. He's a reporter. He's an art reporter. He writes articles on art, and I guess I undersold it by a couple $100. So I probably could have got $500, $600, $1,000 for this painting, but my mini Radiant Tarot deck price, I think I bought that for you mean this one here? I think I got it for like $12 or $15. But yeah, I'm not selling that. But I was trying to in this story about this painting that I undersold. Yeah. So welcome, Tarot with Priya. So this is a painting that I sold a year and a change ago. But I had I see. And so it probably would cost you quite a bit, the Radiant Mini, when you include shipping and all that. But I don't know. You can go. I bought it on Amazon, and I'm assuming Amazon is everywhere. But anyways, so this is my wildfire. So I'm gonna try, not tonight, but I'm gonna try and do another and reproduce this painting. But I'm gonna start with reproducing the colors in the sky as they actually were. And so that's what I'm going to try and do tonight. I'm going to start it tonight, and I'm going to finish it tomorrow night. And that's my plans. And so I put some gel medium down on here so that the paint will better stick. And I'm going to start with just like some yellow ochre. I'm going to start with some yellow ochre paint on it. We'll see if this plastic wrap was any good at preserving this paint over the course, because it's been, nope. I'm going to have to find a different system. Yeah, so I'm going to have to find a different system here. I'm going to add some paint into my palette. I'm sorry. I should have done that in advance, but I was like watching. I'm going to be using this color. This is the Reflex Yellow. And so in tonight's painting, I'm just going to try and do the skyline. And that's all I'm going to try and do tonight is just the skyline. I think I need to take, at the end of this month, I have some full pans coming. And so I can, this is actually a watercolor tray, but I really wanted another palette for my golden paints. I'm not going to use very much of it. We're going to use some of this fluorescent magenta because anyway, that's one of the colors I'm going to use in it. I don't need to use very much. Probably about that much. And we're going to need I don't have all my paints here. I'm sorry that I'm not very well prepared today. But we'll do a start here. And I need some black. We're going to use this bone black because it's more kind of a transparent color. And so I'll put some of this over here. I don't think I'm going to need very much of that, but we'll just put some of it in here. And we can't do this and tone down and make shades without having some white. And so we're going to use some of this transparent titanium white. And then some, it's kind of stuck on here. Here we go. This is just some regular yellow. And I think I'm going to want to add, just because I really like the flavor of the color, I'm going to run with this Azilron Crimson. And I think we can get to some of these shades like I want to from this. I'm not sure if I can or not, but, and then I know that I'm going to need gel medium, and so we're going to fill this part with just gel medium. All right, let's get crack-a-lacking. I'm going to pull the reference photo up. Right, I'm going to just put it right over here. Or maybe we'll just put it here. I don't want to get painting on it. Okay, so, and here we go. We're going to get started. So I need a brush. So we're just going to be, this brush will work. So we're just going to start and make a color. Start by making a color. I think we'll start with this yellow and this yellow. And we're going to do, and we're going to add this gel medium in here. And I think I want to add just, and this is just initial. I did put gel medium down here so the paint can stick. And I'm doing it, I gotta see where do I want that horizon line. Not really. I'm using it as a thinner more than anything else. And so we're gonna, I think the horizon line is gonna be like right here. And what we're doing, just like before, we are doing layers and layers of transparent colors. And we're going to lay the colors down until I really get that desired color that I want. And so I'm going to add in here, coming down here, bring that white down, mixed in with all of these. It doesn't really create, you can use it to create, it does work that way too. And I think that you using it more like a paint thinner than anything else. That's kind of, and thank you, Ange, for being here. Using it as that more than anything else as a paint thinner. But it is sticky. You can use it like glue. You know, it works if you get like that. Amsterdam sells a gel medium that I think I want to make it like this. This is, I think, where I want to bring the horizon line down. Just because for perspective reasons, it looks better if it has a bigger sky than a lesser sky. And rather than like this here picture, it has a more balanced look. We'll come down a ways. I'll put in some ground, and this is literally how red everything looked. And if I remember right, I took this. This was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this was in September 2020, and that's when Oregon had some massive wildfires, and like 2 or 3 towns on the Sandy Am burned to the ground. And one of my buddies told a story of one of his high school classmates who just got out of his house in time, and he ran into the creek that was in back of his house, and he was like in his underwear, and he ran into the creek, and he had his car keys in his hand, but his house burnt to the ground and his car burnt to the ground. It burnt down. But tragically, he also lost his dog in that fire. He wasn't able to get his dog out in time. He just had seconds to get out of the house. I think that was in Lyons, Oregon. And the fires that were really close, and that's on the other side of Salem, on the other side, on the east side of I-5 on Highway 22, going over the Cascades, and so if you go on Highway 22, and then you take Highway 22 on the other side of Salem, there used to be Costco, used to be by there, but Costco is someplace else. And then you go over I-5 on Highway 22, and then it takes you on one of the Sandy Am passes, and it will take you up and over, and you go to Detroit, where the Detroit Dam is at, and you go up to the top and come on down, and you'll be in Sisters and in Bend, and that's the highway pass to get to there. It's been too long since I've been there. I did go 1 year after those fires just to go see what happened, and I wanted to go the same year, but I did go the same year down to Rose Lodge and Otis, and where there were fires as down there as well, and those are the fires that were within just miles of my house, just a couple miles. I was lucky, but not everybody was lucky. You know, being in that situation. So I'm going to come back in here. I got the water. Now I'm going to come in and do a different shade here. We'll just add some of this azalea and crimson. We'll take a look at the sky, and you look at it here, it's actually pretty close to what the sky, the ground. I like this azalea and crimson because it you can get closer to nature. I really need some yellow ochre, and I don't have any of that handy on the floor. Anyways, sorry I hit the camera again. And what's going on down there? What fell off? Oh, pencils. Yeah, I've been looking for my Catholic Bible, and it's completely gone. I don't know where I put my Catholic Bible at. And the last time I saw it was probably in 2011. I know I bought some yellow ochre in. Oh, I do have it on my countertop. I do have it. That's right, because that thing split out. I want to find my Catholic Bible. It's but not because I can get another Catholic Bible, but that was the one that I took when I went to graduate school, and I was doing all that Bible study, and I have all those notes in it. And that's why I wrote a lot about some of the things I want to talk about in the my Sunday after church chat. There are some things in it. That I wanted to use it because I like that version. Granted, it's New American Bible or New Jerusalem. I do have a New Jerusalem Bible that is handy and so forth. But I'm just kind of really obsessed with really wanting to find that one. I don't know, and I don't know where I put it. I know it came back. This moved back with me when I moved from Seattle back to Oregon. I know that it came back with me. And so what we're doing here is we're blocking colors in. And so because I've used an underpainting, I'm not really worrying too much about color matching too much, but actually that is a color match if you look at it. And color matching too much, and because it's just we're going to be adding a lot more layers of color down on here. And so for tonight's mission, we're just going to try and get the skyline finished, and tomorrow night, and actually we may just warp right into like Saturday night. I might go all the way into the next 3 days and just work on creating this image here. I'm not so sure about it. I was thinking about doing something else with my colored pencils for Saturday night, which is probably what I'll do, but we shall see. And so it'll be like an hour tonight, and maybe 1 to 2 hours tomorrow night, and then yeah, well, let's just, I actually don't know what the official use of gel medium is, Ange, so let's just look it up. I know that I'm using it right, because I can also use glazing fluid to do this. And so yeah, I have like all the voice activated stuff on my computers and so forth turned off, because I really don't like AI assistants at all. So gel medium uses. So what do we use gel medium for? So gel medium is a versatile substance used in painting and mixed media projects. It is essentially a binder without pigmentation. So common uses of gel medium. Texture, impasto, gel medium thickens paints, retains brushstrokes, and is great for creating texture. Yes, creating texture. Collage work. It enhances adhesive properties of a paint, making it suitable for collage. Transferring images. Gel medium can be used to transfer images, and I've been using gel medium as paint thinner for acrylics. But you can also use water. Water is also a suitable substance to use too. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to lay in this reflex. Essentially, it is fluorescent magenta. And let's just mix in with the fluorescent magenta some of this yellow ochre. And I want to it'll put in a little bit of heat in the sky, but I kind of think so this brush, I really don't like this brush. This job is too much for using one of the smaller brushes. And yeah, so I'm putting this paint on here pretty heavy right now, but because acrylics are more opaque than like watercolor. With watercolor, you can't go from heavier shades to lighter shades, but with acrylics, you can go both ways. And they say the same with gouache too, but I don't have any gouache. I just I don't really feel like I need to go buy gouache, even though it's like an opaque medium or paints for like watercolor. And I have all of this acrylics, and so I just don't feel like I need to. I feel like I can just get by with the watercolor, and then I can use acrylics instead of the gouache to do the same thing if I need to use gouache, if I'm even pronouncing that stuff right. So let's come back in here. We're just mixing these colors in, putting them all in. And let's put some of this reflex yellow in it, brighten it up, makes it kind of like a mustardy color. Add some more of this stuff. So somebody, even before I even published the video, went and subbed to my new channel. I wonder who that was. So we're just going to adding a lot of these different colors. And this color too is in here as well. You can see it. I can see this more like in the sky. So I know that the picture's essentially pretty boring, but we can make this picture just a tad bit more exciting when it comes to working on these trees and things like that. And so we'll do the stages of trying to reproduce this. We'll do sky, and if we look at it here, we'll bring the color down and lighter, bring it more like a kind of a creamy color down here, so it'll look like there's just a lot of light coming over the horizon. And then I will add some trees, do this hill over here, and I got a story about this hill here, that when I was growing up. Now this hill there was a hippie farm that was up here, and in the 1980s, it was a giant marijuana farm, and it got the giant marijuana farm. The guy who, and I went to school with the kids of the owner of that marijuana farm, and he did get busted, but he bought all of his sawdust. He bought sawdust from my dad's lumber mill, and my dad didn't know that it was all going for like growing weed plants, and he was making roads with it, and he had 1,000 plants, and he was carrying those plants in and out of the sun every day. It would be 1,000 plants. They'd go into the barn at night, and then during the daytime he'd just move them around and so he had the plants in 5-gallon buckets. And so the guy who did it was something of a legend, because they say that he evaded the authorities for a few years before he got busted. He went and assumed the identity of some person who had died, and was able to get documentations, social security cards, everything. But this is, like in the 80s, before everything was connected together with computers. And I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit here. We'll see how this works. Big drug bust. And it was right on that hillside. Right afterwards, then they logged the whole thing down, and so the trees have been growing up there for 30 years, 35 years. Yeah, like 35 years. Because what have I been out of high school? Almost 40 years. It's getting close to that, 40 years being out of high school. We haven't had a reunion since the 30-year reunion. That was the last one we had. This color is kind of pretty close to this here. And it looks like I'm going to be coming up about like this. Ange never sleeps. Yeah. Well, I stay up till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning often. Hi, Tom. Did you want to come on my show sometime, Tom? For like a painting a tarot card? Maybe I don't have a guest for this Friday, but maybe that's just too soon. And my email address is, let me just write it down for people interested in becoming a guest on coloring the tarot. Okay, all right. So there's my channel. That's my email address for my channel, for channel correspondence. And I think somebody's calling for me. Yeah, it must be the neighbor cats. Yeah. So, in a couple weeks, hopefully the world doesn't end in the next couple weeks. Lying in bed, well, that counts, I suppose. I think that looks about right. What do you think? We have on here the, if I go this, I think I'm going to pull this color all the way across the top. And yes, there is. Yeah. That is a dot right there. It's a period. So I'm going to put this in over here. Go back in, and I'm laying this color a lot heavier than I might normally do so. Do I hear coyotes outside? I haven't seen a single coyote this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're, when the wild turkeys were like permanently in the valley, I was like seeing them all the time. And we'll come back in. So that blocks those colors in. So let's just see how much I can get done in the next like 30 minutes here. We might actually, no, we're doing that gel medium. So yes, Ange, I looked it up. You can use, and I have used gel medium for texture. And I can show you how I use it for texture too. I painted this mask in 2020 during the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter riots and protests. That whole spring and summer of violence in the United States. And to get this texture, I used gel medium and oatmeal. I use oatmeal and gel medium. And I used a heavy body gel medium. I used the Amsterdam series heavy body gel medium to get this. And then I also used lots of, I textured the whole surface out and then I painted it. But it has like many layers of paint on it. And so, yeah. And I may have actually used... No, I've done other things, but yes, gel medium, you can use it for texturing too. And this texturing is mostly paint, but it is also oatmeal and gel medium. But yeah. So here we coming in over here. I need more of that gel medium. Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's see. Now I'm going to want to begin building the sky from a different angle. I think we'll come back in and take some more of this Zilron Crimson. We're going to mix it in here. We need to go down into a thinner layer. And I think at this point in time, I'm going to switch over to glazing fluid. Now, granted, you can do all of this stuff with water. But in doing this stage with the glazing, the glazing fluid, this stuff will slow the... Well, actually, I don't think I'm going to do that yet. I think I'll wait, because it slows the drying process down, because pretty soon I am going to have too many layers of paint on here in order to continue. And I'm getting to that point right now. And so we're going to come in and scrape that paint off. We're going to mix it down pretty well. And I want to get that color match a little bit closer. And it's close, but I think it needs some more. We'll add some more of this. I want to put the reflective colors into it now in order to bring those colors up a bit. So it makes it kind of that orangey kind of a texture. This muddy orange kind of a texture. Glide at first. Oh, I found out something really interesting, that one of my cousins is a she's like a second cousin. She would be... So my second cousin's daughter is I think she's an electrical engineer or something like that. But she worked on that. They launched a lander. It was one of the SpaceX rockets that launched out of Cape Kennedy 2 days ago, and she was on the team that built that lander, that lunar lander that they launched 2 days ago. And so it was something I didn't realize that. And granted, her grandfather, which is my dad's first cousin, was also an engineer, and he invented the 911 emergency system. So, and he also worked for Bell Labs, and he came up with the idea after his dad had a heart attack, and there was no emergency services or anything, and they loaded his dad up into a station wagon and took him to the hospital. And so my second cousin, he's a first cousin once removed first cousin once removed. He's a first generation American and from Sweden, and he so he worked. That was and his mother was also, she was a health nurse in the very same parts of Oregon that I live in, right? She was a health nurse for Polk County, and for like 30 years. And we're going to just take this and get this color. This color is on here too thick. So I really think I'm going to have to quit here because I cannot actually do any more. So Mitt Romney is your second kind of twice removed? Yeah. Huh. And I'm and thank you, welcome David. And I have I'm a descendant of John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley on the Mayflower, and John Howland, and so Joseph Smith, who came up with Mormonism, is a distant cousin of mine. And also I have 3 presidents on that line as well: Franklin Roosevelt and George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. Those are my presidents they're like 12 cousins or something like that. 12th or 13th. I think that I'm like at I'm at the 12th or the 13th generation. I think I'm the 13th generation away from John Howland. So John Howland is my 13th great grandfather, and whereas the Mayflower landed in Plymouth Rock or in 1621. And so but well, we're all related to someone, and you know what, there's a girl, a lady, I've never actually met her, but she submitted poetry to when I used to do a poetry magazine, and her husband, her last name is Bradbury, and her husband actually is now ex-husband. Her ex-husband was was a nephew to Ray the Bradbury who wrote the Martian Chronicles, but not the John Carter of Mars guy. Not the John Carter of Mars guy, but some a science fiction writer. He was a science fiction writer. I think that one of his stories is like Mars is heaven. If you go look up old time radio and old time radio, and this I can't do any more tonight. I'm sorry, because I'm not gonna turn my hair dryer on and the paint's too wet. So I'm gonna smooth this down like this, and we'll just kind of tell a few stories and so forth. But Mitt Romney. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't do anymore. It's the paint is, so I'm gonna button this down, but anyway, people that are like famous and I have a first cousin. No, she's also a second cousin. She's a writer, and she wrote one book. Well, she's written 2 books, but one of them was called The Territory of Men. And what's kind of interesting about this is that when I lived up in Seattle, when I lived in Seattle, I facilitated a writer's critique group, and we met monthly, like 10 months out of the year. And one of the members of that writers group. Now, actually, this is a one of the stories is a serendipity story. It's serendipity, but one of the members had actually read that book, and then was like, "Oh, that's your cousin wrote that book." And Territory of Men. Her name is Joelle Frazier. She keeps a very low profile life, and her mother, one time a long time ago, was the queen of the Rose Festival in Portland, and her mother is a first generation American, kind of. Her dad was born here, but her mother was born in Sweden. So her mother was a the Rose Festival princess or queen or whatever they were. She was very beautiful, very beautiful woman. And so there's like all this talent that comes in my family, but lots of people have lots of talent in their family. But where was I getting to? She wrote a novel. Actually, it's a memoir. It's okay. I read it. Her second one, I wasn't able to get through it. And so, as just a reminder, we're working on color matches. I'm doing, and so I can't do any more on this. As you can see, there is in the sky here. There's some color matches and so forth going on, and so then this other thing that was really serendipitous was there was another member of my, I'm going to read one of his poems, of my writers group. And I found out when I moved back from Seattle, back to where I'm living, that his friend, who he went to graduate school and got an MFA in theater with... Okay, all right, I'm going to just read a poem, and then I'm going to give it an end here, a poem from a literary magazine that I used to publish. And there we go. I think I can read this one, The Fall Guy. And so this guy used to be in my writers group, and when I came home, I found out, I can't read that one, the words, it's got too many bad words in it. And I found out that it was like, oh, this person that I used to organize writing things with in McMinnville, when I used to live in McMinnville, and was a friend of his and so it's this whole small world thing, and how interesting, how connected our world is. So it's like, I feel like, let's try this one. Progress by Larry Christ. Our walks around the city, this girl I used to date would recall. What went where? That used a dog kennel that was once a record store. Over there used to be a Thai restaurant. I wasn't as fascinated by the history as with her ability to remember. She was still in her 20s, but her recall was that an ancient elephant. I thought of her just today, seeing a fresh, empty lot. Something just destroyed its pieces, piled up in a green dumpster, erased from the corner and ready for the next thing. Last week something stood there. I had walked by it as I walk by now. Whatever it had been was already lost to me. What her face would have remembered. All right, let's see. Used furniture. I think I can read this one. There's no like really bad words in it. Why is it called Skid Row? Because men on the skid gathered there. Don't women go there too? Not as often as the men. Will we see Dad down there? Not today. She drove her new used car. There was plenty of parking in that part of town. The sidewalks lay wide and empty. Papers and wrappers drifted by. Pigeons stood their ground. Bottles and cans lined doorways of places no longer open. Where are all the bums? Shh, don't call them bums. Hobos. Hobos live near freight trains. Winos. Shh. Well, what do I call them? Don't call them. And don't speak to anyone. I kept my eye out for whatever they were called. We went in one of the big cheap furniture stores. A slight man with mustache wearing a tie and no jacket waited on Mom. I looked at a wind-up Victrola. Come on, we're leaving. Aren't we buying any furniture? Not here. Why? Come on. Back outside, I saw a man on the sidewalk. I walked up to him. He wore a hat, and when he looked up, I saw he had an eye missing. I was going to ask if he were a bum or wino, but asked where his eye went. What? You see it? He laughed, and I saw his eye wasn't all he was missing. Mom yanked me away. I told you not to talk to anyone. We rounded a corner from the main street. There were 20, 30 men in the shadows, standing, sitting, waiting. Wow, look at 'em all. What are they waiting for? I don't know. Come on, let's go. She would not let go of me now. Recrossed to the empty side and entered another furniture store. A bald guy with glasses and suspenders waited on Mom. She continued to hold my hand. The man was showing her dressers. I felt Mom jump, then move away from the man. I don't believe this. What? What? We left the store. He grabbed me. He grabbed my behind. Is that why we left the other place? He made an indecent proposal. What's an indecent proposal? Never mind. We're going to Sears. They have to be gentlemen there or they lose their jobs. And then what? They end up here? It would seem that in the used furniture business, we got back to the car. My hand was getting sore. I saw a man across the street pissing in a doorway. I raised an arm to point this out. My mom pushed me in on her side. He turned as we started the car. He smiled wide and slowly put himself away. His teeth were really white and strong. He was all there. Let's go. Let me just read another one. I could read one of mine, but I've actually read that same poem here before. And so bookmaking is something that I've done, and this is I think it's the third ebook that I'd ever designed. And I want to read, let's go read this one. I just saw him, he came up in my feed on Facebook. Addict by Greg Brizadine. He's a slam poet from Seattle. Addict. I know a man addicted, united from the moorings of reason. He can't map the path from rain to puddles, from sun to sweat, from flame to pain. He can't map the path from the coil of the burner to the scar swirled on his palm. His family pleads and cries at each new burn. Coiled poison stacked on deeper coils, his family blocks the path to the stove top, reminding him about heat and pain. They watch in horror again as he reaches for the burner with empty eyes. Tattoo. I crave the simultaneous sting of 10,000 bees so I can show you what I believe. I want a tattoo, but I don't trust myself to believe tomorrow what I believe today. I believed once that blood was thicker than water and I wanted rivers running red across my skin, but then I was cradled by ocean swells and learned that blood and water both answer to the moon. I believed once that love conquered all, a Valentine heart with boxing gloves. But lately I sip smoothly down paths of least resistance, shoulders shooting by, granite monoliths that once cried out for conquering. I believed love was a noun and wanted to diagram it in sentences across my chest. But now I think now that it's a verb, a perpetual evolution, so that the ink frosted donut I present to my sweetheart's looks in just the right light, like global forgiveness. I want to show you the creak of a wooden mask when I catch giggles in canvas and sail over the precipice past everything I know, like the cover of that Kansas album from 1978. Those all sound like great tattoos, but who am I to damn the flow of tomorrow's truth by branding today's across my skin? Up to now, I can tell you that Lord of the Rings is the literature that changed me. Patty Griffin puts my emotions to music, and Calvin and Hobbes showed me the value of friends. But there are writers, musicians, and artists just imagining their truth today whose work will cause the cells in my body to spontaneously regenerate tomorrow. I don't have enough real estate for what I have left to learn, so my plan is to come to the end withered and drained, but instead of a preacher at my deathbed, a tattoo artist, ready to document the whole life's learning on my failing flesh. My last breath will synthesize the totality of my evolution into something graphic, maybe just a single line, the folly of a lifetime, succinctly reduced and represented in ink as I cast off. But my suspicion is that there will be hidden wisdom in the bite of her needle, and before the holy tattoo artist has spied me on my way, I'll need a do-over, an asterisk next to the line, or a footnote aptly tattooed on my foot next to the toe tag to capture the final truth. In the meantime, I'm more interested in the map to where I'm going than the map of where I have been. So I look for my reflection in the skin and ink intersection of other people's tattoos, hoping that one that looks like the answer to a question I haven't asked yet, because the bees aren't telling and drifting is disorientated, and some days truth is an anchor that just won't catch until it's written in blood. Good night. And that is a reading from my literary magazine, randomly access poetics. Heart splatters into significance. And this is available at Amazon. And I wanted to thank everybody for being here tonight, who tuned in. I wasn't expecting anybody. Like or sub if you like anything. Thank you, Roots and Wave. Thank you, Early Ritual. Thank you, David. Thank you, Tarot with Priya, for being here with me, even if it was just for a short time. And I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. to work some more on this painting. Good night. Bye-bye.